you know, even if you save like one animal's life or like five animals' lives, that's like life. That's a big deal.
Hello beautiful beings, it's Rebecca the Vegan Pixie Warrior and welcome to my channel. My channel, if you haven't been here before, is all about uplifting other activists and helping to inspire more vegans to go active. So if that sounds like your sort of thing, hit that subscribe button, like and share this video. Today I am talking to the beautiful and wonderful Kevin. I discovered him on Instagram with a page that he's got called Meatless the Musical. And he uses puppets to get the vegan message across. Anyway, I'll let him explain the story behind. I hope you really enjoy this, and I'm hoping by the end of it, it will inspire some of you who are creative to do something similar. Today, I've got the beautiful, wonderful Kevin. Welcome, Kevin, to my YouTube channel, and thank you so much for joining me. How are you today?
I'm good. Thanks so much for having me. I'm just really excited to be here. This is the first interview for the Meatless the Musical channel and production and whatnot. So thank you. I appreciate it.
I like I said earlier before we started recording, I had to reach out to you when I saw your Instagram page. I just had to. I've got an affinity for puppets as well and animal rights, and I just thought the videos were beautiful. So there is a link in the description for anyone watching this that hasn't found you, and you need to go out and you need to watch and share these videos because they are brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So the first question I'm going to ask you, and I ask all vegans, is when did you go vegan and what was it that made you go vegan, or who was it that made you go vegan?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, like I'm at the beginning of this journey. It's been a little over a year and a half since I've gone vegan. I had wanted to do it for a few years and had like tried like a few years ago and just it was a pretty like lackluster effort really but yeah, something hit me like a year and a half ago. I was just like, oh, this is not that hard, I'm just gonna do it. And the main like influence really, my musical mentor, Mark Bailey. He's a conductor and a musician, but he spends a great deal of his time as an animal activist, and he's done this. He's currently president of the Animal Haven in North Haven, Connecticut, which is a companion animal shelter, and then he's done a great deal of legislative advocacy, and other animal testing. It's just really incredible. And so I've been surrounded by this, and he went vegan, and then slowly just learning about it, and it's like, oh yeah.
So,
it just doesn't make sense to
yeah,
go on the way I've been eating, really. So yeah.
totally. And are you grateful to him for showing you that information and educating you?
Yeah, very grateful. Yeah.
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 Definitely. This is what I want to get across to people. Is like I had the joy of meeting Marissa, who made the film Educated years and years ago, and I've only been vegan for 3.5 years. But I had the chance to meet her, and that's the film that made me go vegan.
Mhm.
And the first thing I said to her when I met her was, thank you
Yeah.
for making that film, and thank you for making me vegan, because if she hadn't done it, yeah. So, and I want to get that out there. I think all vegans, what would they say? Would you say you're being aggressive and you're telling people what to do, or would you turn around to that person and go, oh, do you know what, I'm so glad that you told me, or showed me that, or made that TikTok video
Yeah, and
or
it's
whatever
even
it is?
yeah, it's remarkable. Like I just went vegan. It's like this is my personal choice. I mean, I don't. Sometimes you can't help but like you get in a conversation that's like, well, that's just not true or whatever it is. But I try not to. I think preaching can be very, very good. It's just not totally within my personality. But I made a show called Meatless the Musical, so I guess that's my form of expressing my passion for this. But that being said, it's amazing like the impact it's had on just my friends or family who are not vegan, and they're like, "Why are you doing that? Oh, that's interesting." And then they start to like eat way more plant-based. I'm like, I didn't even intend for that to happen, you know?
That's
So I think,
awesome.
yeah, yeah,
The whole reason I invited you on was because of Meatless the Musical. So, what inspired you? Sorry, I'm going off topic now because these aren't the questions
please,
that I've sent you, but they're just coming into
no,
my head. Um,
please.
what inspired you to create this amazing, like beautiful form of activism?
Gosh, yeah, I'm like, it's so funny when you asked me to do this interview and I was like leading up to it. I'm like, I never pictured this is so cool. And I just, I never thought I would be doing this kind of work in a way. I just, it's something you can't necessarily imagine. I'll tell you exactly like the formation of this idea was I was writing a song for a theater review that was in New York. And it was all about like making fun of like things that happened during the year. It's like one of these fun like review show kind of things. And I was working on this song, and what I decided to satirize was the lawsuit against the Blue Diamond Almond Company in America that happened in 2018, 2019 by Big Dairy. And so they sued them for using the word milk
Yeah.
on their products. And then the president of the FDA was quoted as saying, an almond doesn't lactate. And it was just so absurd. It's just so absurd, And I mean, I could get more rational and factual about it. Like, we use the word butter for peanut butter, and all these other
Yeah, yeah,
words, but
exactly. We
milk,
need
milk
coconut
is
milk as well.
exactly, rice milk, all these things. So I was like, well, I could write a song about this. Like, I know what to do with this. And so I wrote a song called How Do You Milk an Almond? And it was all about like really satirizing this whole thing and how ridiculous it is that like people are wasting a federal court's time with this question because it's the word milk. There's freedom of speech, and like it's not deceiving any customers. No customers going home being like, I thought it was milk. Like,
Well,
no,
this is the
they know
thing.
it's almond milk,
Exactly.
almond
There's
milk.
a thing in the
So
EU at the moment. They're trying to
yeah,
change the fact that
they,
vegan products are not in cartons,
they
and
keep doing
yogurts,
it.
vegan
Yeah,
yogurt, are not in yogurt pots because they lost the whole fight about vegan sausages, and that
yeah,
didn't happen. So now they're trying a different route, and it's like, well, do people think you think people are that stupid? They're going to go in and go pick up a carton and go, oh, I thought it was cow's milk, and it's like soy milk. I've been
yeah,
duped. What about orange juice? Orange juice comes in cartons like that, and then the yogurt pots in the UK, you get mousses sometimes in those yogurt pots. Oh, damn, it's a chocolate mousse. I thought it was cow
exactly,
secretions
right.
made into yogurt. Yeah.
It's so absurd, and like I love these examples because this is just pure corruption of like crony capitalism basically, and they're so desperate that they're not afraid to look absurd. They know it's so ridiculous. They know they keep losing essentially. I don't know every case, but from what I've been seeing, they keep losing, but they keep trying because probably lobbyists, whatever, are pressuring them. I don't
I
know
think they're
everything
scared
about
as
this, but
well.
it's
Like I
so
think they're,
absurd.
yeah, I think they're massively scared and massively threatened by the growth of veganism. Like I said, I've only been vegan for 3.5 years, but in the UK, when me and my husband went vegan, the only sausages you could get were like the ones that tasted like vegetables, or they were Linda
Yeah,
McCartney's. And
yeah,
now we've got so many. Like there's a big brand in the UK called
I know.
Richmond sausages, and they are like really cheap pork sausages. And they've made a vegan version, and they
Yeah,
taste just like their meat ones. It's ridiculous. And I
yeah,
think that, rather than being scared about this vegan takeover, just shift and be part of it, and you can
for
still make
sure.
money.
There's the great example in the States of Elmhurst Dairy. And I think they're based out in New York. I could be getting that wrong, but Elmhurst Dairy, I'm pretty sure that's the name. And they were like a traditional dairy company, and then they entirely shifted over, and they're doing entirely like plant-based milks. Um, so this was so absurd, and so I got to write this song, and it's like the tag melody is "How do you milk and almond?" And there was a wonderful singer who did it and whatnot, and the ending is, whatever milk you choose, you can't own a word, and so you just, you know, there's arguments even outside of veganism that just prove that this is so absurd. So I was writing this song, and basically while I was writing the song, this title popped into my head, Meatless the Musical. And I was like, well, that's a really good title. I don't know what to do with it. But after I'm done with this project, I'm gonna like revisit this and try and write something. And this was like so only like a year and change ago, and before the pandemic. And so I started working on the show, and it's always going to be like some vegan sketches. Like I was telling like my friends about these different vegan sketches that like would just be so funny, and we're gonna do it like as like a little like benefit concert for the Ellie Mae Farm Sanctuary over here in Connecticut, and we're gonna do it at a vegan restaurant up in Connecticut. And so I really sat down to write the show, and I'm like, okay, what's this like about? Is it just sketches? And I'm like, well, farm sanctuary, it's a benefit for a farm sanctuary. Well, it'll be about like animals at the farm sanctuary, right? I'm like, okay, I got okay. And then like it's like there are these three rescued animals. And it's like, and then there's the farm sanctuary manager. Okay, she's the one who saves them. And then and this is the full show. And then I'm like, so what happens? And it's like, well, the sanctuary manager, her brother, is a cattle farmer, and he comes to visit the sanctuary, and he realizes the wrong of what his livelihood has been, and decides to convert his farm basically from being with these animals. And like the real crux, I'm a musician, and it's just like, to me, like I love like theater and musicals and movies, and I noticed that like songs have this really like powerful way of communicating. They like don't necessarily make the rational arguments, they make like the emotional arguments, and can hit you and like, and resonate in a special way. And so like the whole musical, like eh, more or less, like each of the rescued animals, a calf, a pig, and a turkey, like have these like confrontations with the cattle farmer, not like in
Okay.
an aggressive way, because he's displaced because there's a wildfire at
Yeah.
his farm in California, and there's a wildfire. He doesn't know he goes to his sister, they've been estranged, and he comes and he's like very vulnerable, desperate, and these animals, like, right, animals, like, their first instinct when you go to them, like it's a calf, it's a pig, same thing with a dog, a cat, they like more or less go up and like, give you the benefit of the doubt,
Yeah.
basically,
Yeah.
unless they've had serious trauma, and are rescued. But most of the time, like pretty quickly, they get rehabilitated, and then they're very like, just they give you the benefit of the doubt. And so these animals, like, I had this like idea that I wanted these animals to give this cattle farmer the benefit of the doubt, because like he has not his reasons, but he's in this situation where he's not doing pleasant work, you know, and he doesn't know what to do, and they just, through these songs, basically really convince him, like, what happens. And I mean, that's the ending of the story, and it's in its own way, but it's an advocacy show, so it kind of has more to it. So
It sounds like a great idea, and I hope it goes to the West End and comes to the UK, and I can go and see it. I love the idea, and that the animals are reaching out to the cattle farmer, because you hear about farmers that have, gone vegan because of that. There's,
yeah, exactly.
a UK guy who was a vegetarian and ended up being vegan and giving his cows away to a sanctuary. And you're right about, when I go to a local sanctuary, the first thing that the
Yeah,
cows and the pigs do is they come running over,
yeah.
and the turkeys as well, and like the turkeys are giving hugs to people, and yeah, they're incredibly trusting, beautiful beings. And I think we need to repay that trust by giving them kindness and showing them love. So
Yeah,
is there any
absolutely.
other activism that you do, or is this the first form of activism you've got involved in?
This is the main form of activism. I volunteer at the Animal Haven, and yeah, those two things have been what I've been doing. Yeah,
An animal, yeah, volunteering at an animal sanctuary is so important. I
yeah.
wish I didn't work so many hours and I could volunteer more, but it's difficult fitting it all in.
Oh, of course, yeah,
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 but that is definitely activism in my eyes, volunteering at a sanctuary, because
yeah,
they do such amazing work and they need help. And if we can volunteer just a few hours of our time, or if you can't, just donate a bit a
yeah.
month, and yeah,
Yeah,
brilliant.
exactly. There's so many ways, and even just spending like an hour with an animal, like they appreciate it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely. Yeah, my cats always appreciate me spending some time with
yeah,
them. So how do you fit all of this into your life, this musical? I mean, we're in lockdown at the moment, obviously.
yeah,
The coronavirus kind of helped a little bit with all of that. Um,
yeah,
but you started it before. What are your plans coming out now? We're starting to hopefully come out of this pandemic.
yeah. Yeah, originally, I just conceived this like to put on like a show, and it's like a 4 or 5, 6 person show, and to do a performance of it and raise some money for the Ellie Mae Sanctuary. And I was thinking, well, after that, wouldn't it be good to bring this to schools in some way, And I bet that that would be possible. And so, and this was all kind of pre-pandemic thinking. And yeah, and then it kind of occurred to me, I didn't know what to do with the show, like when the pandemic hit. I wrote the script, I wrote all the songs and whatnot. I didn't know what to do with the show. I was like, well, after the pandemic, kind of revisit it and work on other things. And then it hit me, you know, for all the effort of putting together like a production of this show, what if I filmed a movie of this show? What if I just made a movie and then I could just like it could go anywhere in the world and doesn't require like any funds to like put a show together. Anyone can see it. It just like breaks down all the barriers of accessibility. And that's the point. It's just like it's an educational show. It's like entertaining and all that. Like you don't necessarily know you're learning about things, but um, it's like it's just supposed to expose people to the kind of emotional core of veganism. So yeah, my plan is in about a year and a half to film a production of this show, and yeah, and share it with the world, or wherever it can be, whether maybe it can go to festivals, maybe it just goes on YouTube. But it's certainly the by far the biggest project I've ever tried to undertake, which is really exciting, but it's like the most like concretely meaningful project I've ever tried to undertake. So I know it's something that I'm gonna do. So
Definitely. And what you have been doing, obviously, because you haven't been able to put on the show, is you have
yeah,
been putting little video shorts out
yeah,
on Instagram and
exactly.
on TikTok as well. And I
Yeah,
found you through Instagram page. I don't know
yeah,
what happened. I don't know how I find you. I don't know if you started following me or I started following you, but I just I shared it to all my friends. I was like,
oh,
gotta
thank
check
you.
this guy out. Yeah, I just shared it everywhere. You gotta check this guy out. This guy is amazing. And I spoke to some other YouTubers and I said, I'm gonna reach out. I'm gonna ask him for an interview. But
Yeah.
your TikTok videos and your Instagram videos, how are they been going down? What's the reaction you've had from those going out of the beautiful puppets?
Yeah, super positive. Like I think we mentioned before, there was like only one really hard-hitting video that I made on TikTok that got like some trolls. It was just the silliest thing. Who knows, what age these people were. But it's just been super positive. Yeah, it's been like a lot of work preparing up to this and like designing the puppets so they would kind of speak like true to what this is about, because there's just so many things you can do with puppets, and like these aren't cartoon characters or like caricatures. Like they're supposed to really like evoke that feeling of like an adorable animal. Yeah, it's just been really positive. So I've been making I guess I've been doing a few things. Like sometimes I post quotes that the you know the animals are like really the source of information. They just tell me
Mhm.
what to put, write down. And Jake the calf has a quote, Penelope the pig has a quote, and I just listen to them. And I'm like, oh, yep. And then sometimes they have an idea for a song. Like Jake the calf's very prolific and really likes writing songs, and so I'm his, like the way we have it arranged is I'm his musical assistant, and like sometimes I'll set up the camera or something like that. Um, and yeah, so then making songs, we just finished a song called I Have Feelings. And I have feelings, yes I do. I shouldn't be your food.
I have feelings, yes I do. I shouldn't be your food. I was at home, I ate all my hay. Then Penelope the pig gave me some hay. I was happy, happy is a feeling. That's right, animals have feelings. We have feelings, yes we do. We shouldn't be your food. I have feelings, yes I do. I shouldn't be your food. I have feelings, that's right, so do you. I have feelings, that's right, so do you. I have feelings, that's right.
And we're working on a song called
That's good.
Don't Eat Burgers, Eat Veggie Burgers. And so it's kind of a catchy tune that way. And Jake Calf's thinking of doing like a veggie burger recipe within that song. And then over the summer, we did a few songs too. So we're kind of, getting back going with it. But over the summer, we did 3 songs. Thank you for being a vegan. It's like all about like how much it means to these animals too. It's like, you're like advocating on behalf of me, and animals are like voiceless in the eyes of humans, and they need voices to stand up for them.
Yep.
This is very important.
Agreed.
And then there's a song, Please Don't Eat Me. I think that was the most popular one.
Please don't eat me. Please don't eat me. There are so many things you can eat other than eating meat. You can eat some broccoli, sauteed in your favorite sauce. Add some fava beans and show 'em who is boss. So many meals to taste, just please don't eat me. Veggies can enchant, hey give me that. Eggplant, raisins and tahini, food that is so dreamy. Cilantro, quinoa, steamy, please don't be a meanie. Please don't eat me. Please don't eat me. Eat veggies, fruits and grains. It's better for your body and brain.
And then there was one about like stop drinking my milk. And the whole thing with milk, and this is always like really hard for non-vegans to like listen to, but it's like, so mammals produce milk.
Yeah.
Humans are a mammal. Humans are a mammal. Cows and calves and bulls are also mammals. They produce milk for their young. That's
Yeah.
intended for their babies,
Yeah.
not for humans.
I know it is
And yeah,
absolutely mental. Like I speak to people when I do outreach on the street when we're not in lockdown. The one thing I say is like, if you went into a shop and there was human breast milk on the shelf and then cow's breast milk on the shelf, would you buy the human breast milk over the cows? And they're like, oh no, why? Oh, that's disgusting. It's like, why? It's humans. It's meant for humans. Like
yep,
cow's breast milk is meant for baby calves. And they went, oh, you just see them like click going, oh yeah, never thought about it like that before. It is,
exactly.
yeah. And I had that thought years ago. Like it always pops up on my Facebook memories, and it was I've been like I said I've only been vegan for a little while, and the post is from about 13, 14 years ago, and I did this whole post going, why do we drink cow's breast milk, but we don't drink humans' breast milk? Why is it so weird? Why do we have that thought process? And that was years ago. I wish someone had just
Yeah,
tapped into me then. I probably would
gotcha.
have gone vegan at that moment.
Exactly. It's I mean, there's like history and culture and, social norms at play in all of this. Shouldn't we try and live in a way that's not like arbitrary, but is like natural to who we are, which I believe is vegan diet, and also like not exploiting others, like animals, humans, environment, etc. So it's tough. This
Yeah.
is why the world's in a certain situation, because you're dealing like 7 billion people, and there's systems at play, and so it's very difficult.
It is. It's so difficult. I had a bit of a
But
moment
these
this morning.
voices are
Yeah,
important. Sorry,
exactly.
yeah,
No, that's okay. I had a moment this morning with my husband, and he was telling me about these holes that are drilled into the ground, and they're like there's one in like Russia, I think, and one in Germany, one in America, and there's a new one in Japan, and they
yeah.
are like 7 miles deep for science. And I'm like, well, what? Why? Why? They're like, and the one in Japan, they're spending like $1 billion drilling this hole. I'm like, there's $1 billion they're spending on science to drill a hole into the ground to find out what's going on down below. Why don't we just leave planet Earth alone, let her be, put that $1 billion into helping people that are in impoverished communities that have no food, no clothes.
Yeah.
There's just so much more that we could put that money to use rather than drilling a massive hole in the ground to see what happens to the Earth. Wherever I think it was, where did he say they were drilling down to? I can't remember now. I got really wound up, and I was like, I just can't stand the human race anymore.
Well, you're absolutely right. Like the use of $1 billion, and then also some people would say, well, it's not affecting the environment. No, no, no. Like drilling holes like that really, like that's the reason. In some ways, I'm not a like an earth scientist, but earthquakes and tsunamis are partially caused by this human intervention in things like gold mining. That's what
Yeah,
people have linked the gold mining in California historically for hundreds of years. This kind of like interference with fault lines, or interference with the earth basically,
yeah.
leads to the fault lines, and this it has a detrimental impact no matter what someone tries to convince another person.
Exactly. I just lost it this morning. I was just like, I'm
Yeah,
just fed up. I think
yeah,
it's been worse since I've been vegan because I see what we do to these poor innocent animals.
yeah.
What does it mean to you then to be, because I consider you an animal rights activist. I know you don't think what you're doing is activism, but it
Oh,
100% is,
I'm like very
100%.
complimented by it, and I was I to my mentor Mark Bailey. I was telling him about the interview. It's like all these questions about like as an animal activist. I'm like, well, I wrote an activist show, so I guess that makes me an activist.
It
And
does,
I think,
100%.
yeah, I think it's not I mean, this being an activist for something can take so many different forms. And it's not as daunting as someone might like think. It doesn't mean you're a professional activist or you do this all the time, but it could be small gestures too. So to encourage others if they have a desire to do something.
Exactly. I walked to the shop the other night in a hoodie that says, "My food didn't beg for mercy." And I just walked around the shop a few times and passed
Yeah,
people and made eye contact with people. And I got some
yeah,
funny looks, but that's a form of activism. And you're right, there are
yeah,
so many different forms of activism. And
yeah,
that's the whole reason I set up this channel, was
yeah.
to show all the diversity. And it's funny you were saying about music and how that connects to people. I did an interview a couple of months ago with a lovely activist called Vegan Queen V, and she's got a YouTube channel. And she wrote an amazing version of a Christmas song,
Mm.
and pulled the animals into it. And she saw Land of Hope and Glory, which is like the British Dominion, and
Mm.
wrote a song about that as well. So yeah, I think music can be the way to get to people. Definitely,
Yeah, yeah.
definitely. So what does it mean to you though to be an animal rights activist? What does it mean
Oh
to you?
yeah, of course.
That's
Gosh,
okay.
what does it mean to be an animal activist? Um, I feel like I'm a happier person, to be honest. I think having purposes larger than yourself is important, and helps like you as an individual. It's important to me because you can have a concrete impact, you know, even if you save like one animal's life or like five animals' lives, that's like life. That's a big deal. Yeah, I mean, when I wrote the show, I thought to myself, like, what would be more or less what would be the show that if I like was in middle school? Because again, like I did not grow up as a vegan. I did not grow up like understanding what this was about, and in part understanding emotionally what this was about. And so what would be the show that if like there was a middle school assembly and like someone, threw a movie on the screen and they watched it, that would really get me to think about this. And so I hope that this show can get all kinds of people. I mean, of course we associate puppets with kids, um, but like, yeah, it's not like a kid show necessarily. I don't,
No.
I think, I think it could speak to like a, really intelligent 6 or 7 year old. It can definitely speak to like adolescents and teens, but I think it speaks in the same exact way to someone who's an adult. And I hope that people can watch this, and especially people who are not as moved by the rational arguments for veganism. I hope it is a way of them seeing that animals have emotional and mental lives just like humans, and just because they're not the exact same mental lives as humans has nothing to do with better or worse, because who creates the criteria of better or worse?
Exactly. And this is
Human
the
beings.
thing.
I
Yeah.
mean, I could like, I don't have like an example on hands, but I could like make up criteria for something like any way I like. And then let alone if it's based on me, then like, it's completely arbitrary.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
if it's based on intelligence, there's that whole thing like a baby doesn't have the intelligence that we have as an adult. So does that mean we
yeah,
can treat the baby? Or if someone's got a mental health disability and
yeah,
they're high on the autistic spectrum and they're non-verbal, does that give them lesser
exactly.
rights? No, it doesn't. And
No.
animals, pigs have a better sense of smell than us, and
Exactly. Yeah.
the animals have a better sense of hearing. Like cows can almost see 360 degrees.
Exactly. Oh, I didn't
So
know
they
that.
have
That's
a
cool.
better sight than us. Yeah, so I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
And then there are so many things that they have better senses than us. Does that make them, you know, because we don't have, we've got very
Yeah.
basic senses. When you think about our sense of smell and our sense of taste and sight and hearing, we're very low down on the spectrum with regards
Exactly.
to
Yeah.
all the other animals on the planet. But
Well,
that
I
doesn't,
love the even just a comparison to a human baby. So
yeah,
like, you know how fast like babies and toddlers learn languages? Like human beings can't, like adult human beings cannot do that.
no,
So
no,
like again, it's just like our made up criteria. Sure, we're better at constructing sentences in our own language, but animals of course have their own like highly nuanced communicative languages. Pigs sing to their newborns, when they're nursing. Like cows have a different a call, a vocality,
they do, yeah, for their babies.
a different call for each of their babies. Um, and this is stuff that we don't immediately up on with the animals, just like they don't understand like reading a book. You know,
Yeah.
it's like a book is as far into them as their calls are to us. So it's just the differences of the diversity of life.
Yeah. But they
Yeah,
still have that sense of being and the sense of wanting and loving, and
yeah,
they can feel pain, just like us. And
absolutely.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
So
it's amazing, you know, I mean, like, psychologists have studied things like this, the human bias of like kind of likeness, and we relate more to things that are like us. And I think that even has to do with our relation to other species. So like a human can understand that a cow or a pig feels pain. Like that is more understandable than say a fish, or a lobster. And I remember having a conversation with someone. It's like, well, do lobsters feel pain? And I'm like, how could they not? Like, pain has to do with like a sensory to be able to like move around. and like avoid things that are dangerous. And a lobster is, you know, pretty agile in its environment. So of course it feels pain. Of course a fish feels pain. The reason you don't think immediately that it feels pain is because they're, you know, not mammals. They're in an entirely different form of life. But it has nothing to do with like their own mental life, you know?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And there was some studies of the fish that make, they make their own patterns, don't they, to attract partners
Mhm.
in the beds. And there was a
It's
brilliant video
amazing.
that,
We can't
yeah,
even imagine that. It's
can't.
just remarkable, you know?
No, not at all. I mean, that the octopus and my octopus teacher or something on Netflix, I think it was called.
Oh, yeah, I need to watch that. I saw that.
Oh, yeah, you should watch it. It's absolutely stunning. Like, I love it, and I can't wait for um Seaspiracy to come out. I'm really excited
Mm,
about that. I want
I
my
saw
mum to
that.
sit down
And
and
yeah,
watch it
it's really coming out.
because my mum loves dolphins, and I'm like, I just want her to sit down and I haven't seen it yet, but I want her to
Yeah.
sit down and watch that film definitely. Do you want to bring on your puppets and show the audience the whole reason that I reached out to you, which I'm so excited for this, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll start with Jake the calf, who was the first member of the Meatless the Musical family. Um, and
Honestly, I'm like a kid right now. I'm buzzing.
and so this is Jake the calf.
Oh my god, he's
And
so beautiful.
if you watch the channel, you'll notice that we have similar voices, and that's because, well, Jake the calf voices me. And so, and yeah, so it's just in the
Hi, Jake.
show.
Go on, in the show. Sorry,
Hi,
I interrupted
how
you.
are you?
Honestly, I'm so excited to meet you. I'm so happy to meet you, Jake. You look absolutely stunning.
Oh, thank you. I have a very detailed regimen in the morning to get me looking like this, but you know, it's
And so, how are you like being with your vegan family? Is it great to have a vegan friend?
I really like having a vegan friend. I mean, Kevin, he's all right, you know, he helps me out sometimes, but like there's Penelope the pig, there's Tucker the turkey. I really like Chester the dog. He's really cool. And I'm the newest one at the sanctuary, and I just kind of arrived. I'm getting the feel of things and whatnot.
And what would you say to vegans out there that aren't active for the animals that need to speak up for beautiful beings like you?
Well, I have feelings. I write a lot about songs about what I do, and uh, you know, if you'd like to, you know, help me out, you know, you should just say what you think about animals and how important it is.
Thank you, Jake. It's so lovely to meet you. That was amazing. Do you know how long I've waited to speak to a puppet? Like since watching the Muppets as a child. That's You've actually ticked something off my bucket list. I'm not even
Oh,
kidding.
I'm very glad.
It's the
Jake
only
can make
reason
it
I
happen.
brought you on is just to meet Jake. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's why most people, you know, like me is because of Jake, you know, so it's
No,
really
I have
wonderful. He's
really
like,
enjoyed talking to you, and Jake was a small snippet of that. He was the end goal, but I've really enjoyed talking to you. It's been
oh, thank you. Yeah, he's a really special character. And so these puppets, and I'll show you the rest of the puppets
yeah, please.
too, worked closely with actually the person who sang that song, How Do You Milk an Almond? His name's Brendan Malafronte. And he's a puppet builder and actor. And I approached him about working on these puppets because I knew he also built puppets, and I just saw some of his work. And when I wrote the show first, like I had the script, and then started like working on, you know, I got some funding to get these puppets built and all this stuff. And it took a long time, you know, of designing, and then it takes a while to build these things. It's incredible. Like you know, like Jim Henson and the Muppets. And so I learned all about like this world from this because my interest in puppets evolved out of this show. And then I was like in love with it, you know. And it's such a craft. When I wrote the show, I was talking to some people. We had like readings of it. And I was like, you know, what do you think about, you know, because it would need to be puppets. I don't want like people dressed up in cow suits, you know, like doing this. And they're like, yeah, I can see that, but like, aren't puppets like usually funny? Like they're supposed to just be funny. I'm like, no, 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 these puppets, like they'd be funny and like emotional. Like, and so that was the whole idea. And so I worked with Brendan and designer Maddie Frank and kind of gave them lots of examples from farm sanctuaries. And I want it to like look like this and, this kind of thing. And they're not cartoons. And obviously, like all the puppets are made from vegan materials, and
Of course.
trying to recreate a sense of an animal, not trying to replicate it. That might be a bit creepy, but like really recreate the emotional world
I
of
think
them.
puppets are always like funny. I mean, look at the Dark Crystal.
Yeah,
That's what got me obsessed with Jim Henson, was watching the
yeah,
Dark Crystal, and those puppets aren't funny at all. Like some of
exactly.
them are pretty dark,
Yeah,
and even when you come to the Muppets, like with Miss Piggy and Kermit, and they're quite deep emotional characters. They really, really
exactly.
are, and it's an extension of Jim and Brian and all of those people. And that's why I was so excited when I saw anything to do with Muppets and puppets. I'm
Hmm.
like, and when I saw your channel, I was like, I have to meet this guy. I have to,
Oh, thank you.
because you've obviously got a love for the craft as well. And I know you said that's come because of this idea. It's
Yeah.
grown out of that, but it really comes across in the videos
Oh,
and
thank
what
you.
you've done.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah. So I'll show you the other puppets, and I don't voice all of the puppets, and as I was mentioning, the larger project, I don't know if I'll be voicing Jake the Calf necessarily. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe
I
I
think you
will. I don't know.
should. I think you
Yeah, maybe
should.
I should. Um,
It's like Jim and Kermit.
I know
Jake's your
you're right.
baby, so
Did Jim Henson? He was the original voice of Kermit.
he is the yeah. He was the
Oh,
original.
great!
Yeah,
I didn't realize that.
and a few others. I think Brian was Piggy.
Oh,
Was it Brian?
wow,
But yeah. Jim Hens Kermit is Jim Henson.
that's amazing.
I
Oh
know.
yeah.
Sorry, I'm
And
massive
so
Jim.
this is Penelope the Pig.
Oh, and
Hello.
she's beautiful too. Hello,
She's
Penelope. I know
absolutely beautiful.
your voice isn't there at the moment, but you are stunning. Way prettier than Miss Piggy. The detail is so beautiful.
Yeah, she's adorable and
And inquisitive like pigs are.
exactly. Um, and so this next puppet hasn't been on the channel yet.
Are we getting a
Actually,
debut?
this is actually a debut. I was like, well, how could I not show all the puppets to you? You've just been kind of focusing on Jake and Penelope. And this is the third puppet and rescued animal of the show, Tucker the turkey. And he's a very important character because Tucker the turkey um, speaks out at Thanksgiving, and the sanctuary has a Thanksgiving ceremony, and Tucker the turkey speaks out to everyone about what it means to be a turkey and to see all of his friends and family be exploited on Thanksgiving and what it meant to him to be rescued, and what animal sanctuaries mean to him. So this is
Oh my god. He's stunning.
yeah.
Absolutely beautiful. Oh, how
Oh,
are those where have you got those feathers from then? Because
it's amazing, isn't it? So these are actually like, of course, everything's vegan materials, but they're not even feathers. We actually took um, the material, and then Brendan, the puppet builder, treated this material with certain kind of like scissors and like kind of cutting to recreate this kind of feathery texture.
why?
And yeah, and then the head is because turkeys, right, have very small heads, right? And for puppets, you need like to be able to fit your hand. And so kind of redesigned the head to kind of give almost like a close-up impression of a turkey. You're
Yeah.
you're speaking to Tucker in a close-up way.
Because
And
turkeys are a big part of American culture as well with regards to food. I mean, I lived in Miami when I was a kid, and I was only 10 years old, but I do remember it being a massive thing. And we have turkeys in the UK for Christmas.
Hmm.
But me and an old partner of mine before I was vegan, we used to have goose or duck because
Yeah.
I've never been a fan of eating turkeys.
Yeah.
Not because I related to the bird, I do now, but I just didn't enjoy the taste of
Yeah.
turkey meat. But yeah, so that's he's going to have a big impact, aren't you? Definitely. I love him.
Very important.
Very important, Tucker. Very, very important. Do you have any plans for any more puppets?
There's only four puppets in the show, and I'll show
Okay.
you Chester the dog, because Billy, who's the cattle farmer in the show, has a dog, and like there are dogs at farms, and they're like it's a role for the dog, and they're supposed to look after the cattle, and Chester the dog in the show has a really important song that's sung like Billy goes to sleep and Chester's in the room and he's all alone. And then he's talking about how he wishes that Billy would change his ways, because it's too hard for him to like have to go back to the farm as a dog and always have to say goodbye to his friends,
I
and
love that.
he's supposed to be looking after the cows and the pigs, and he looks after them. And they say, look after these animals. That's what the people tell these dogs, and these farm dogs. And then the animals get shipped off to slaughter. And so they always have to say goodbye, or they don't even know. And so Chester sings a song called No More Goodbyes, and he hopes that he lives in a world where he'll never have to say goodbye. And so this was actually the first puppet. This was designed. I actually got this puppet on Etsy, actually, by a fantastic Israeli puppet designer. And this is Chester the dog. And
Oh,
so
hello, Chester. Oh, he's
he's a
cute.
little cutie.
Very cute, definitely.
He's always getting up to like all kinds of antics with the other
I can imagine
puppets.
that, definitely. Can you tell me what you would say to vegans out there that aren't active, that don't do anything at all, that think that being vegan is enough? What would you say to them to inspire them?
Yeah, I mean, even like interacting with other vegans, I think is a really positive first step, because I don't know, say you're like part of a vegan society and you're sharing vegan recipes and you have events, like people are bound to bring their friends who are not vegan. So um, even that is simple and a really positive step. I think it's like fantastic, like to be vegan. I have like a hard time telling people like what they should do with that, but yeah, I I think if you have an inner desire to like share it, you shouldn't feel pressure from like friends or family saying, "Oh, you shouldn't like go do that," or you shouldn't speak about that." There's so many like ways you could talk about um like what's important to you, and if being vegan is important to you, for the animals, for health, for environment, so many different um, things you can talk about. I mean, and there's so many different areas. We all have like different expertise in different areas. Like someone might know a great deal about the environment and like the concrete impacts, and so maybe talk about that. Or then these people who are remarkable like managers of these animal sanctuaries, who are like specialists in taking care of these animals, because it's no joke. It's absolute specialists. They've studied, they spend their life doing this. They focus on that. So there's so many it's a whole like ecosystem.
Yeah, you could be a talented musician like yourself because I had a little
I
look at
made a
your
puppet
website and
musical.
yeah, but you've
Yeah.
used your talent and your abilities. Like
Thank you.
I
Thank you.
can't sing, I can't play any instruments. I love
Yeah.
music, but I do, it's not one of my talents. So that's not what I can do. But there
Mhm.
might be other musicians out there that can do the same because you've got
Exactly.
quite a
Yeah. I
learned
know a
background.
great deal of musicians. There are some other musicians on Instagram who combine their music with activism. There's like large celebrity there's celebrity musicians who are vegan, and they have huge mainstream followings, and they have the confidence or just like the will to be like, hey, I'm vegan, like you should be too. Like this is, they're very like bold about it. This is destroying the planet. And like I have so much respect for that because, their audience just listens to them for their music. And suddenly they're saying, oh, you should like eat this way too. And they can have an impact that way. And yeah, it's
Definitely.
amazing.
I'd like to interview RZA. I think my husband
Yeah,
would have an
exactly.
absolute fit if I interviewed RZA because he's his biggest fan. But that
Yeah.
would just be amazing. I mean, this video is going to go out after his birthday, but I bought him a Wu-Tang t-shirt which has got vegan written across it because he
Sure.
won't wear any vegan clothes. I thought he'll wear this because it's Wu-Tang Clan. But and he would have already had it, so I won't ruin his surprise. But yeah, I'd love to interview RZA about his activism, and Lewis Hamilton as well. He's just gone his strength for
Hmm.
strength with his using his platform for the animals. It's
Mm.
huge. So they can have a big impact, but also even if you're an unknown, you can have some impact. I mean, this
Yeah.
channel already has only been up since June, and I'm only at 700 subscribers. And I've had a number of people reach out to me and said they've got active because of watching people like you or other people that I've interviewed,
Wow.
which
Yeah.
was the whole point of doing this. So
Exactly. Yeah, you just do something because you like it, and it'll have its resonance.
brilliant. But seriously, I have really enjoyed talking to you, and I can't believe we've been chatting for an hour. It's just gone so quickly. It's been
Oh,
really
thanks,
good.
Rebecca. Yeah, thanks again for initiating the interview and whatnot. So,
Oh no, you're welcome. It's been an absolute pleasure to meet you and meet your puppets and talk to you. And yeah, like I said, I'm a small YouTuber.
great.
Someone else might share it and get you out there, and people that don't know about you hopefully will come over and find you and promote your page. That's what I want
Oh,
anyway. So
thank you. I appreciate it.
you're very welcome. I hope you enjoyed that. I really loved talking to Kevin. I was in two minds whether to cut this into two videos because it's quite long. And I thought, no, I'm just going to put it all in one and then you can listen to it as a podcast. It is timestamped, so you can skip to the bits that you want. If you have been inspired to do something similar to what Kevin's doing, then please comment below. Comments really help my algorithm, so do comment if you've been inspired. I'll drop a link below to Kevin's TikTok and also his Instagram page so you can follow him and find out more of what's going on. I really, again, enjoyed talking to him. This was like a dream come true for me, talking to puppets. Massive thank you to my patrons on my Patreon page who support me in making these videos, and eventually, once lockdown's over, will help me get out there on the streets and be more active. My dream is to give up my full-time job so I can do this as a full-time activist, inspiring others to get active as well. So if you want to support me, check out the link below in the comments. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like and share this video, and I'll see you next time.